The ombudsman has had a stellar track record so far, hasn't she? Let's talk about. Okay, your big question was, because of the murky disclosures, there's still no real explanation as to how they accumulated that wealth that they've reported. We're not even suggesting that they have something they haven't reported.
This is declared only.
Yeah, we're just talking about what's been declared. Did you see any other problem when you were going after this story? Was there anything else that, to you, raised alarm signals?
Well, as in the time we did the Arab stories, there were a lot of talk, coffee shop rumor, people in the business community saying this and that. But the PCIJ doesn't do its work based on rumor. We precisely take the long effort and take the long process. And I think the problem here is what we've written about is actually a story about declared wealth only. There are a lot more. But we wish we could really do crowdsourcing and tell people that maybe this is how you could help us write this story. If there's any basis at all to any of these stories, there's a lot more.
Let's talk briefly about the real estate transaction, because it was said in your report that that was sold for about, correct me if I'm wrong, about 1,400 per square meter at a time when property prices for similar lots go for about 250 pesos per square meter.
In that area, the assessor's office was telling us the best price, 250 per square for road or lot close to the road. And this lot is on the foothills of the Sierra Madre and far away. The point we raised there is conflict of interest. The amount of 41.5 million paid by the buyer to by the seller to the buyer is really beyond the purview of local officials, meaning of government. It's their private business. What we're raising is a point about, well, why are 5 road projects worth 45 million pesos devoted to this? Why had it been devoted to this particular barangay that was
after the transaction?
No, before the transaction, between 2004 and 2007. So it somehow, one, I think, stands to reason it could be plausible, raise property price. Second, conflict of interest, perhaps, if the president had, according to Senator Santiago, shown any interest or participation in the awarding of these contracts.
So they buy a raw land for the natural market price.
100,000 pesos in 1990, according to the transfer certificate of title.
After they buy the property, the national government comes in and builds 5 roads that all seem to be
5 road projects, the road
in and around that area, thereby enhancing the value of that property.
Leading to the road.
And because of that, they're able to sell the property at a large profit.
Well, in a way, that was the context, and I think that's an immovable and verifiable context. The buyer was telling us, well, I saw possibilities for mining pozolan and silica aggregates in the area.
But your story also shows how financially unlikely that seems to be.
He would have ROI very soon.
So it is something that raises serious questions about whether they knew that there was going to be something there, or did they even cause that property to be developed in that way. It sounds like something that's going on in the Senate right now.
Yeah, you have a lot of speculation. You're the one speculative in that.
Okay.
We're careful about exactly asserting what we can prove.
Let me ask you this as a final question. I don't know if you're able to prove this. I know you're continuing to look into these things. Is there something significant that has not been disclosed as legally required by the president?
Something significant in terms of what? A new story or property?
Assets?
I think a lot of particular details. You see, between Arab and Mrs. Arroyo, we were telling ourselves Arab was easy to actually write as a story because it was out there, the fruits of the forbidden tree, according to Joker Arroyo. You could see it, you could touch it, you could smell it.
He wasn't hiding it.
Layers of corporate veil. It's very difficult, really, to discern. And I think if Mr. Rondain and Mr. Macalintal would like to look at the documents, we have accumulated a lot.
So we haven't heard the last?
No, we're trying our best to write it in the best way we could. The PCIJ actually is very OC about, standards of accuracy and fairness. So we mind it when Mr. Macalintal says, this is judgmental, this is speculative. I think they were called in Monday, and then they were talking already about a story we did for 3 months. I mean, add to that the 4 months prior on a separate set of stories, but related to the Arroyo government. So how can he one day, maybe in the first hour that he was there, speculative and judgmental? I'm sorry, but I think that's not really fair at all.
Well, I guess we're going to hear more about this. In the meantime, Malou, thank you again for coming. It was a pleasure to have you. And I think that was quite enlightening. Again, thank you for coming.
We do this for friends like Maria and Glenda and Ricky.
Well,
That's
thank
about
you.
it. Thank you.
I think the public was also the public also benefited from this discussion. And as if the controversy over the president's wealth is not enough, she's also hounded by another issue, this time over those expensive tastes in food. After the New York Post revealed a lavish dinner at Le Cirque in New York, a well-respected Washington Post column came up with another expose that the president and her U.S. contingent had another meal at a Washington, D.C. restaurant that cost $15,000. We'll continue to look at these tastes on Snapshots.